I just came up out of the rain. There's a rally going on outside in favor of Bill number 9928, which is also being known as the Immigrant Protection Act, but I know that that is, the title is in flux. Regardless, I sat through the meeting just now. I've been looking at the legislation for months and following the developments. And I'm here to say that on behalf of Indivisible Westchester, I'm the co-chair of the Committee for Justice on Immigrant, Committee of Justice for Immigrants for Indivisible Westchester. And I'm here to say that I strongly support the legislation, that Indivisible Westchester strongly supports the legislation, and there are hundreds of, if not more, in Westchester who support the legislation, who signed a petition that I delivered to your offices last month. I did speak the last session, but as this is a difficult time of day and as there are a lot of people downstairs, I'm here again. I'll try not to repeat myself. I will just say that it bears repeating, especially after the discussion that was just had in the committee meeting, that we understand and we support the fact that this is not a sanctuary law. We care very much about the safety of our county and our cities. We do not want this county to harbor criminals or shield them from prosecution. What we want is equal justice for all. We want our county law enforcement officials to protect our cities and towns, and we want them to protect the confidential information of all residents, regardless of immigration status. These two things, as you know, are not unrelated. Public safety depends on cooperation with law enforcement. Gradually, if immigrant fears interacting with law enforcement will lead to scrutiny of his or her immigration status, that person will be less likely to contact law enforcement and otherwise cooperate, such as serving as a witness in a hearing. At the meeting we just had, the MS-13 was brought up, and I think this, again, speaks to members of the immigrant community have information sometimes that the law enforcement needs, and if they're afraid to come to law enforcement because they are largely terrorized by these groups, then that would make us all less safe. Not that I think there's a lot of MS-13 in this county, but I'm not sure. It can go on record about that. However, despite what the current administration in Washington would have you believe, immigrants are not mostly criminals, far from it. Immigrants make Westchester great. They are our neighbors, our co-workers, our kids' classmates. They're business owners, service providers, domestic workers, and skilled professionals. I can tell you my experience of immigrants in this county. They're kind and honest people, working exceptionally hard to support their families and provide opportunities. After all, this is America. Isn't that what this country is about, the land of opportunity? Please support me.
Good afternoon, Westchester County Board of Legislators. Thank you for hearing my testimony today in support of the Westchester Immigrant Protection Act. My name is Tony Castiglione. For over 4 decades, I've worked in apartment buildings in Westchester, and I've been a member of 32BJ as a superintendent of a building. My work touches naturally a lot of safety concerns for our residents, and it's concerns for our safety of everyone in the county that brings me here to testify this morning. Nobody wants people who have committed dangerous crimes on the streets. Everyone wants justice served and the innocent protected. That is exactly what the Westchester Immigrant Protection Act will help do. By making sure that immigrants in our communities can have complete assurance that local law enforcement remains strictly separate from federal immigration enforcement. Immigrants can maintain their trust in local police and more readily report and help to solve crimes. We need this act because immigration enforcement under President Trump is going after immigrants who have committed no crime. In fact, non-criminal immigration arrests have doubled under this president. His detention policy and pressure to involve local authorities and law enforcement goes beyond anything we've seen in our lifetimes.
They specialize in Hispanic neighborhoods like Yonkers and Rochelle. And the pattern of abuse and apparently show across the United States.
Bill 7, submitted by the cities on labor cost planning and housing and reconstruction, is an act authorizing the execution of a temporary leasing agreement and a permanent leasing replacement of the force main piping from the Ludlow Street pumping station to the 54-inch diameter North Yonkers force main.
And Ms. Shipsky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This easement will allow the Department of Environmental Facilities to replace the 54-inch diameter North Yonkers force main. We don't even want to think about what the results would be if the force main were allowed to fail, and it is coming increasingly close to that point. So we need to replace it. In order to replace it, we need the easements. The temporary construction easement involves 150 square feet. The permanent easement involves 24 square feet of property located at 1 Federal Street in Yonkers. We are compensating the property owner for the...
Okay, at this point, let's go to legislation, please. Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make sure I don't forget anything, so I made a very long list here. I want to thank, actually, first of all, I want to thank Legislators Border, Legislator Jim Manzano, and all the advocates for the extensive effort in drafting this act. Nothing worthwhile is easy, and protecting our county residents from unnecessary. This fear is so prevalent in our community that people are reluctant to report a crime, whether they're a victim or a witness to such. I'm going to share something that I've never shared with anyone before. When I was younger and my parents were going through the process of becoming U.S. citizens, they fell victim to an immigration scam. My parents worked factory jobs. My father worked nights, while my mother worked days, so that one parent can always be there taking care of the children. It took my parents a very, very long time to save thousands of dollars, only to have it stolen. And because of their fear of having our family ripped apart, that crime went unreported. I remember my parents crying and crying and crying and having no one to talk to. I remember feeling helpless and hopeless. I couldn't help my parents back then, but by supporting this act, I am going to help many, many immigrant parents now.
I also want to thank the personnel from the county, the commissioners that came and testified before the Public Safety and Social Services Committee. Also to all legislators who were so actively engaged in this process. It has been a long time, but I think we can see at least another stake in the road. This is not a sanctuary bill, as some will say. I'd say if you say that, or you will say it, or those that may think about that, maybe you be fake news. But I think now is the time for us to come together to take action on this very important bill that is to protect the people of Westchester County. It is a public safety issue. And I'm proud and pleased to stand here today as a co-sponsor of this legislation, and I am ready to vote. But this may not be the end, because if the county executive decides to veto this bill, we will need 12 legislators to override this.
Thank you to you, Mr. Chairman, because you, Mr. Chairman, have helped guide this particular piece of legislation, which is always fun when you have the 17 different personalities and 17 different districts that we all represent. But this would not have happened without my colleague, our leader on the Democratic side, Catherine Borgia, and her outstanding work in pulling together colleagues, working with everyone from the advocacy community, staying up late at night and making phone calls and cajoling and text messaging and doing everything possible to make sure that we could get to today's date. Jim Manzano and I have done many things together, and this is going to be another one. The vice chairman, although on the opposite side of the aisle, has always been a dynamic and a passionate advocate for making sure that we're always trying to do the right thing.
Concerns here from the county attorney. So, also heard from our police commissioner, George Longbourn, who, and I put in quotes during the meetings, states that the language of this act is ambiguous. Quotes, compromises law enforcement. Quotes, complicates long-standing principles for federal officers and offices such as Homeland Security, ICE, FBI, DEA. We have, as of today, a written statement from our Commissioner, Mr. Longworth. It's very short, so I'll read it into the record. It says, this is from our Commissioner, I want to be 100% clear. This bill is being passed over the objections of Westchester County law enforcement authorities. It will make Westchester families and police officers less safe. Anything that inhibits our ability to work with federal law enforcement partners like the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and other agencies is a bad and reckless idea. So now, I have something from our county attorney, I have something from our Commissioner of Police stating that this is legislation that could jeopardize money to this county. And, as I indicated before, many people in this room stated we don't really have this problem in Westchester County. So, let's go on to fact number 3. We have heard from our Department of Corrections and Commissioner Chervolko many, many concerns that he's had. He's articulated problems with transfer of certain of the inmates, the cost, laws such as that are not on the books at this point in time that want to be initiated by this proposed act. In my opinion, when you have the Commissioner of Police, you have our county attorney, Department of Corrections Commissioner saying this is a problem, it's something we should look at. Everybody will say, no, it's not a problem. Okay, you're entitled to your own opinion. Again, I don't think there's any discretion, any debate that enforcing immigration law is the responsibility of the federal government. It's not the job of Westchester County to check out people's immigration status, nor does the county play a role in that. And our police officers who testified said that's not what they do. When they pull somebody over, they don't ask what your immigration status is.
Move it along. Order, officer, order.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go.
Mr. Boykin,
Yes.
Mr. Burrows,
No.
Mr. Corcoran,
Nay.
Mr. Gephardt,
Aye.
excuse me,
Aye.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mr. Mizani,
Yes.
Ms. Marcotte,
Nay.
Ms. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Shinsky,
Aye.
Mr. Tubiolo,
No.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
The item passes by a vote of 10-5.
Thank you everyone for being here for what we hope is a historic day in Westchester County. We have just passed the Westchester County Immigration Protection Act, which is a law enforcement and county resources bill that helps to protect the immigrant community, documented and undocumented, in Westchester County. We introduced this legislation in February in order to make sure that the level of anxiety and fear that surrounds some things that are happening at the federal level are taken care of in Westchester County, where residents know what the county, law enforcement officials and other agency heads and other agency employees, how they will treat Westchester County residents. We were very, very, very pleased and grateful to do a tremendous amount of work refining the bill over the past 6 months, working with our advocate groups, some of whom you'll hear from today, as well as across the aisle with Republican legislators, and most especially with our commissioners, who really gave us a very deep understanding of the way that we interact with our immigrant population. We introduced this bill as a public safety measure. We want all of our immigrant community to know that they can feel safe interacting with any county employee, that they are not going to be targeted as a result of coming to law enforcement with any kind of information about a crime, if they are victims or if they are witnesses. We also want people to know that if they are stopped by a county police officer for a traffic infraction, that they're going to be dealt with fairly. We want them to know that they are qualified for Department of Social Services, the Department of Social Services programs that they are qualified for. They don't need to be fearful coming forward. It's a way to really delineate how our county resources are spent, to make sure county taxpayer dollars are spent on county matters, not necessarily funding or providing resources for federal law enforcement, which can handle the enforcement of federal laws.
Claro que sí se puede. Claro que sí se puede. Primero que nada voy a hablar en mi idioma natal. Quiero que sepamos que nos quedamos unidos, que nos quedamos fuertes y nos quedamos firmes. Aunque haga un veto en esta ley, vamos a seguir luchando. Vamos a vivir para luchar otro día. No nos vamos a dar por vencido, porque si unimos tenemos la fuerza. Así que quiero que sepan que en mí tienen no solamente a alguien que aboca para esta ley, pero tienen a un familiar también, que está aquí para hacer su fuerza, para hacer su cuerpo y para hacer su voz. Así que saben que pueden contar conmigo y con todos nosotros aquí. So now I will attempt to say that in English. As a Hispanic immigrant, I was compelled to speak first in my native tongue. And I was letting my people know, our people, our hard-working, law-abiding immigrant families in Westchester County know that we are here to support them. This law is here to protect them, to reassure them that government is here working for you, to help you restore your faith in government. There's no need to live in fear. There is no need for you to, if you are a victim of a crime or if you're a witness of a crime, to stay silent, to remain a victim. Nobody wants to be a victim. Nobody wants to live in fear. Nobody wants to have their family separated. So, in the event that this law is vetoed, we're going to stay strong, we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to live to fight another day. All of the other co-sponsors, Maisano, Chairman Kaplowitz, Legislator Jenkins, I'd like to thank everyone for standing strong and standing firm and standing loud next to me in making this happen today. And just letting everyone know that we're going to stand together, and this issue is not going to go away until we get what we desire.
Virginia Perez and Wilson Torrero. Virginia, the act just passed, 10-5. It's not guaranteed yet. It's going to go to executive, Westchester County Executive for the signature, and I hear a lot of talk about veto, which means there is a possibility. The battle was won, but not the war. What's the next step?
Well, apparently the fight is not over. Right now, we're celebrating the battle. The fight is not over, but we're very excited so far for the progress that we've made. We have to wait. County Executive has 10 days. We have to wait. In the meantime, we're going to have an open dialogue, a lot of conversations. We're still going to continue to speak with our colleagues across the aisle. Maybe we can win a couple of colleagues over. In the event there should be a veto, we do need 12 votes to override that veto. If there is a veto and we don't collect the 12 votes needed, then we have to the end of the session because it is an act.
Now, what do the people out there need to do? Should they call? What is it that they need to do?
Continue to advocate. Continue to join our cause, continue to help us, and let your voices be heard. You have to let the county executive know and everybody else know why this is needed, why this is so important. And again, it is to protect law-abiding, very hard-working immigrant families in Westchester County. It is not a sanctuary bill. It is a public safety bill. It is a bill that connects our communities, and it connects our communities with our local enforcement agencies. So why wouldn't we want to pass something like this?
Let's make it clear, because I hear from a lot of people, they think we're protecting criminals. This is not about protecting criminals.
Not at all.
Let's make it clear so people understand exactly what's the aim and the goal of this act.
For anybody who is confused, for anybody that thinks that this is a law to protect criminals, seriously, we are not going to pass a law to protect those who break the law. That doesn't make any sense in itself. This is a law, again, to protect law-abiding immigrant families. This is a law to let everybody know that we're not going to use your tax dollars and our county resources to perform government immigration raids. This is a law so that people feel safer in Westchester County, so that people feel, how would you feel, God forbid, should you lose a loved one or a friend or something, someone that matters to you, to a crime, and an immigrant was a witness. and the person is afraid to come forward. The person is afraid to speak to law enforcement to help bring forward some form of justice because they're afraid of being deported. This is a law to let people know that there is no need to live in fear here in Westchester County.
Now, Wilson, I hear that you have helped a lot of Latino families, not just Latinos, because a lot of people think that immigrants is Latino. That's not true. Tell us about how you feel and what you think about this new act.
Thank you, Ben, for the question. The new act is actually reiterate what we've been doing actually all of these years, helping people to become citizens, helping them with their residence card, teach them about the laws and regulations that protect them. So this is about quality of life. It's about protecting our families, protecting everyone else, like you and I, citizens, non-citizens, residents, people who live in this county, and for Yonkers for that matter.
Si se puede.
Yes, we can.
And so